Hello, I'm John Manimas Medeiros. I want to talk to you very briefly about what kind of an expert I am, and I want to tell you a funny story about experts. This story is also very brief, a kind of parable. I'm an expert in three particular viewpoints or fields of knowledge. First, I'm an expert in the evolutionary science that is described in the New Testament gospel message. Second, I'm an expert in the best way or the right way to study the gospel message using the two principles and the 5 questions which are described in my other video entitled Religion for Adults and on my website. Now thirdly, I do consider myself to be an expert on the human identity, which is the subject matter to which I've devoted my self-directed education during my lifetime. My mission is to communicate my perception that good stewardship is the marriage of science and religion and represents a philosophical thesis of the human identity that's consistent with both science and religion. Now the story about experts is called The Experts, a Sufi tale. This story is found in the wonderful book entitled The Song of the Bird by the Reverend Anthony de Mello. Reverend de Mello was a Jesuit priest who lived in India and whose writings tell us that being a religious person is not comprised entirely of social conformity. The Sufis are Muslims who practice meditation and pursue philosophical enlightenment in a manner similar to Zen Buddhists, as well as Christians who are not imprisoned in fundamentalist doctrines. If you've studied the gospel message, you will recall that when Jesus was exhausted by the crowd, or when he became aware that the authorities were after him, he withdrew. He went to a safe place to pray and meditate. The book entitled The Song of the Bird is subject to copyrights and was published by Doubleday in 1982. The story itself, I'm sure, is in the public domain, like Aesop's Fables and the Gospel Message itself. So here it is, The Experts, a Sufi tale. A dead man suddenly came to life and began knocking on the lid of the coffin. The lid was raised. The man sat up. "What are you doing?" he said to the assembled crowd. "I am not dead." His words were met with silent disbelief. Finally, one of the mourners said, "Friend, both the doctors and the priest have certified that you are dead. So dead you are." And he was duly buried. When Jesus spoke to the crowds, to the ordinary people with ordinary lives and ordinary troubles, with no academic degrees and no certificates of proficiency, the religious authorities were jealous of his popularity among the people. They were angry with him for getting the attention that they wanted for themselves. They asked him, "By what authority do you teach?" Which is like asking any person today, "Where's your doctorate degree?" But Jesus never said, "Take me to your leader," or that his mission was to talk to warriors and kings or scholars and priests. He said more than once that his mission was to talk to the ordinary people, to deliver the gospel message to anyone who was interested. "Listen to me," he said. "Come, all you who labor and are burdened. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. My yoke is easy and my burden light." I hear and see Jesus as a credible expert in both science and religion. And the traditional Christian authorities say that he is God. If he is God, then it is God who has determined that ordinary people, you and me, can understand the gospel message. He is speaking directly to us, not to scholars, not to political and academic authorities, not to religious authorities. If they believe he is God, and he says that we can understand what he is saying, why do they question his authority? Please remember the story of the experts, and don't let them bury you alive. Climb out of the coffin and hear and see the gospel message using the 2 principles and the 5 questions. Then you will learn that the gospel message tells us what we need to know, that survival of the good steward is survival of the fittest. And the key concept is the primacy of stewardship.